Hi everyone, this is my review of the Ultrasabers Archon v3.1. I ordered this saber just over 2 weeks ago. I've had it for a while now, long enough to be familiar with it and to work out what's good about it and what's not so good. But anyway, let's get down to it. First of all, I'm going to start with the battery charger. This saber comes from the US and comes with a lithium-ion set of batteries, which are rechargeable, and they do supply you a charger. What's good about this charger is it doesn't have a US plug on it, it just runs off a USB port. So if you have a phone charger, then you can just plug that straight in and it will charge your batteries up. I will show this because it's very good. So if we put the batteries into the charger, these are spring loaded, and then plug that in. You get a good LCD display, tells you how long it's going to take to charge these up. Now these are pretty much charged. Actually, I charged them up before I started this video. So I'm going to go ahead and disconnect those, and we're going to go and put them in. I'm going to run from the back to the front with this entire setup, so bear with me. Oh, the charger has a 0.5 amp and a 1 amp setting, so a fast charge setting as well. That's worth knowing. So I'll take that out. These look like AA batteries, but actually they're not. They're 3.7 volts, I believe. And they're slightly larger than a AA. You can't use the standard AA batteries in this setup. So let's put that away. I've already got this obviously disassembled, and the batteries go into the housing. It's quite tight, and getting the batteries out, I tend to use a small screwdriver. There's a position here where you can lever the batteries out. That's going to end up damaging the coating long term, but for now that's my best solution. You could obviously pay the extra and get the recharge port. So that's one battery in, 2 batteries in, really. And work those in. It's tight, and I want to be very gentle with this because obviously you're pulling all the wiring out. Okay. There we go. So it has the Obsidian sound card. I ordered this saber with the Obsidian version 3, and to be totally honest, I didn't notice there was a drop down to go for the Obsidian version 4. It's only $10 more. I recommend you go for the version 4. And in fact, my next saber from Ultrasabers will come with a version 4 Obsidian sound card. The limitation of this is that you only get 1 sound font on it, but I was trying to keep the cost down, and so this is actually only a single colour lightsaber. Obviously the style, if you're a Star Wars fan, you'll know it. It's based on the Return of the Jedi, Luke Skywalker's lightsaber. It doesn't have a box on the side, which is the part of the Graflex setup. That's fine, because if you're holding this in your hands and you're swinging it about, you don't want that box digging into your hand. That's my preference. So we'll just go ahead and push that in gently. Get it as far in. If you've seen some of Emery's videos, you'll see you don't put your finger on the speaker. And then we have the pommel. Now, the actual pommel that should go with this saber, I believe, is all silver, but I chose the one that's got the black and silver just to give it a bit more interest. And yeah, that's good for me. It comes with a D-ring, not a Kovatech wheel. I'm a big fan of the D-rings. I have to say that the D-ring really isn't particularly very functional. You wouldn't necessarily want to use it. If you take a clip and clip that on, you'll notice that this is going to start hitting against the side. So that's going to wear that black off pretty quickly, I would imagine. So I wouldn't necessarily use it like that. For me, it's just a piece of detail on the saber. I don't do cosplay. I just like Star Wars universe and lightsabers. So I do recommend you put a little bit of petroleum jelly or grease or 3-in-1 oil around the thread. It's pretty dry when it arrives and it squeaks when you're screwing it in. So we go ahead and push the speaker in with that, and that's engaged. And we can get that all the way home. There we go. There we go, no squeaks. Now, Emery did say that they tried to make sure that the D-ring connector is on the opposite side. It is, so when that's fully home, they've done a good job there. There isn't a setting that's directly opposite the button, but it's near enough. Okay, so I'm pretty pleased with that. So that's it, that's in that side. I went with a lit button. Obviously, inside the saber, theoretically, is a crystal chamber, and I feel that what you need to show that light somewhere along the lines. It comes out through the blade, obviously, but also through the light. As it's a single colour saber, and it's green, obviously, for Return of the Jedi, I went with a green lit button as well. The workmanship is great, it really is good, but there are a couple of flaws, and I'll point those out as we go. So coming up to the top where the emitter is, this edge around the top is actually slightly rough in places, so I can feel that it is a bit rough around the edge there. There was in fact a small burr, but I managed to pick that off just with my fingernail, so and it didn't take the paint off either. So I'm not quite sure what that was, whether it was metal or paint, but it does feel slightly rough around that top edge. So if I'm using it, I try and keep my hand away from that top edge, and also up through the emitter. These edges aren't sharp, but they're you know, they don't have a bladed edge on them, but they do have a sharp angle on them. So if you're rubbing your hand against that, you may eventually nick yourself. In fact, I did one evening. The top of the emitter is brass. This tarnishes with time. You can deal with that by using a bit of Brasso. Give that a white brown polish and it will come up good as new. So something to be aware of there with the brass. The top emitter, as you can see, the inside actually protrudes above. That's so that it's got enough housing to hold the blade, and the actual LED, I believe, is way down here. Okay, so it's got to shine all the way up through here. So do we need a blade plug? Well, in fact I did order this with a blade plug, and they come a standard length, and that's what this is about here. So this is a standard blade plug, and I cut it down with a hacksaw and sanded it down. And what I found was when this blade plug is in the top, you get a light bleed around the top edge here, and I really didn't like that. So I masked it off with a bit of spray paint, silver spray paint, sprayed that all around, sprayed it inside as well. Be careful not to go through the holes, and that's really does the job. So we'll switch it on in a minute. What else do we have here? Okay. This top piece isn't actually secured to permanently to the brass. Okay, so the emitter isn't secured to the brass. It's threaded, and you'll find if you are swinging it about, it may become loose. So I went down to Halford's and bought some thread lock thread. It's like a blue solution. I put that around the thread, screwed it on, and it's nice and tight. And there you go, it's just come undone actually. So I need to redo that. There is an alternative product to that, I didn't use a lot, an alternative product called Stud Lock, and the specification is exactly the same, except for the fact that Stud Lock says that it's permanent. So maybe some epoxy resin or something like that. Well, clearly, there we go. I'm going to show this actually, might as well take this off. No, and actually it's locked there. Fine, okay. But I do need to put some more on it. So why do we need a blade plug? Well, because the LEDs for the emitter are way back here, there's actually a piece of reflective film all the way down the emitter, and it's not secured. So if you're swinging this about, and I have found that film will eventually work its way out. So if you are going to just carry it about, you do want a blade plug on the end. As I was going through the saber there, the storage in the camera ran out, and so we only got half of the footage actually, but I'm a little bit more practiced now, so let's carry on with it. Okay, so the last point we got to, we put the blade plug in, and I suppose right about now would be a good time to switch it on, actually hear it. So here it goes. Try and get the flash on flash. So it's got some great sounds. Really like the way that sounds. Spot on as far as I'm concerned. Suppose we go and put the blade on. It is very sensitive when the blade's not on. It seems that the blade sort of desensitizes the sound card somewhat. So we'll go and get that on. Blade wise, these ship with a 36-inch blade as standard. I decided to go for a slightly smaller blade, a shorter blade. I went for the 32-inch. There's a film in the centre that's actually not secured. It's not glued, but that's fine, because that way you don't get any glue like disturbing the light, so the light's nice and even. Let's go and put it in. So that slots in there. And when we tighten up the screw with the Allen key, nice and tight, and we'll see what that looks like. Let's pull the bottom around that way. So for me, I've got the sensitivity just about right there. You do have to tweak the settings, or at least I had to tweak the settings. There's a USB port on the sound card. When the sound card's out the back there, you plug that into your PC. Be aware, if you're using Windows 10, then it's a bit fiddly to get the computer to recognise both the Saber, and when you bring up the Obsidian launcher, the software that Ultrasabers provide, it doesn't always detect the Saber, and I haven't really got a good technique for working out what the pattern is to get it to work first time. So I have had to fiddle around with it. But once I got the settings to where I wanted them, I really haven't needed to mess around with it since. The scale for the sensitivity for the swing is 1 to 250, and it's shipped with the setting on 180. I've got that way down, probably around about 10 I think at the moment. And then there's the impact sensitivity, so when you hit, again that was quite high, I brought that way down. It does have the sound effect that when you're carrying it you can get a swing sound if you're walking, but somewhere along the line we're going to get to the right settings there. Obviously when you're hitting another saber, those settings may not be right for that, and I may need to tweak it again. But it is a little bit fiddly. I hope that Ultrasabers work on the compatibility of the software and the drivers, and get that working well with Windows 10. It's probably best to run the application in Windows 7 compatibility mode. That gives you the best chance of it actually detecting so far that I've found. So I think we've more or less covered everything. The cost and delivery. So there were some additional costs. The price of the Saber was £276. I had a transaction fee on my credit card, which is another £8.25. The shipping as well, FedEx, shipped by FedEx, very fast, but there was an additional cost of VAT and an admin charge from FedEx to tell me that. So that was another £18.88. So in total, it cost me an additional £27.13 on top of what I paid to Ultrasabers, which is par for the course. I mean, this is coming from the US. I have to say, these guys can deliver this in record time. I ordered the Saber on a Saturday, and it was shipped on the Monday and was in my hands in the UK on the Friday. That is less than 7 days from the US, 4,600 miles it travelled in that time. So I'm very impressed with the turnaround time from Ultrasabers, and you know, just being able to get hold of it that quickly was a major selling point, and one of the reasons that I will go back to them. I think that about covers it for this video. If you've got any questions, please do leave any comments and contact me, and I'll see if I can assist. Thank you for watching, thank you for your time, and may the force be with you always.